welcome to the Fortress of Solitude podcast. I'm your host, Sergio Pereira, and for today's special episode, I'm joined by Fortress editor, Jared Saunders. Jared, what's up?
It's really so special when you get to speak to me every week now.
It is special because you're going to disappear soon when Lois comes back.
Oh, that's true.
For those of you who don't know, Lois was traveling around Europe for a while. You know, he was gone for a period of about a month, and you know he's slowly getting himself back into things. And I'm hoping to have him on again soon to have him on a special episode. So Lois, special shout out to you. It's time you come back. So yeah, then we can get rid of
jet lag. Does he have a whole month of jet lag?
He's just trying to get his life in order. After you go away for like a month, what do you expect?
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
He's got to come back, and it's like a different life. You know, you don't even know if your family recognizes you anymore after you've been gone for a month. I mean, he went to go do his Batman journey, go learn with the League of Assassins. He went to go and study with them and the teachers of Ra's al Ghul. So now he's back, and he's a crime fighter, I believe. But yeah, look, we're not going to be talking about Lois here. We're actually going to be talking about the Ninja Turtles because they're back. The Heroes in a Half Shell are back with a brand new game, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Shredder's Revenge. And this is a game that's, we saw it quite a while back already that they were advertising it on like social media, and especially we saw some of the clips on YouTube. And there was always like a little bit like no one really knew when it was going to be released. I remember when both of us saw it, we were like, oh, this is fantastic. This is like the TMNT arcade game. And then it took quite a while. And then suddenly out of nowhere, like last week, they're like, boom, it's coming next week. And we're like, what? When does this happen?
Yeah,
so,
I mean, we were waiting for a really long time for this one, yeah.
We were. I mean, the thing is, like, the same developers made Streets of Rage 4, and that was an excellent game. I thought it was fantastic how it managed to capture the mood and feeling of the original Streets of Rage games, but bring it obviously, to a new generation. And I think with the Ninja Turtles, that was the same sort of expectation because, look, we've had a lot of Ninja Turtle games over the years, and some of them have been good, some of them have been bad. But I think we've never had one that's matched the same feeling that we had when we played that arcade game, in the late 80s, early 90s. I mean, obviously when we played it. But, this was like, okay, we are basically reinventing that sort of game for a modern generation, carrying on different storylines, but obviously it's got similar stages and bringing back the whole bunch of the voice actors from the original animated series and all those characters of animated series like, Irma, and all of the ones that we have there, it's just it feels like it felt like they're reviving the 80s, basically the 80s Turtles here, like the animated series. So I mean, we both got the opportunity yesterday to actually play the game. And Jared, what was your first impression when you turn on the game and that intro screen hit?
Yeah, man, it was. Like I said to you yesterday, it was nostalgia overload. I mean, it's everything I remember about Turtles from the 80s. It was like I time traveled back to being a kid again. It was such a weird thing. And what's even stranger for me is like I was playing it with my 4-year-old. So it was like this surreal experience because I remember playing that game, the original arcade game, like all the way back when I was a kid. And now I'm playing it. A new Ninja Turtles game with my kid again. It's weird.
Yeah.
It was a weird one.
It is crazy because I know as soon as it hit as well, and obviously there were certain little tributes that they changed a little bit, that intro screen from the original, but the moment it hit, I was like, this is fantastic. I can't wait to see more of it because it just got me into the mood. It just got me into, I was like, this brings me back. As you said, like obviously it's been, revamped a little bit, it's not exactly the same song from the 80s, it's got like a different sort of like voices singing it and stuff. Obviously still carries the same tune, whatever, but I was just like so shocked at like how they brought everything back and how they just decided, you know what, let's respect everything about the original like animated series that everybody loved, and let's just work on that and revamp it for a modern era, but like bring in all the elements that they can now, which they couldn't back in those days. Because I remember like in those days, you were limited to like the 4 characters, and all 4 characters, like the move sets, were very similar in a sense. Okay, obviously the weapons were different, but it was the jump attack buttons were the same, but like there was no such thing as combos in those days. You could just attack the foot soldiers. And this one, it just felt like they took everything that worked from that game and they've applied everything that would make it better in
Yeah.
2022. And
Yeah.
I was blown away. Like the couple stages, I played like seven episodes last night because I really spent my time on each episode, and
Yeah.
I made sure that I collected everything I could, and I beat up every single foot soldier that I could, and even the Mausers, those little robots. I had to beat all of them as well. Like I was like, no, because I hate those things. Even in the original arcade game, I hated those little things.
Yeah. It's funny.
But
I even this morning I played a bit of multiplayer with my brother, and I was like they've just taken like such a retro experience and made it modern. Like now I'm playing in my house, and he's playing all the way in Cape Town, and he's playing all the way in Johannesburg, and we're playing an arcade Ninja Turtles game in 2020. That's pretty surreal.
yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It is surreal to kind of like look at this game, and like especially with all of us that grew up in the 80s, like, and even in the 90s. And everyone is talking about this game. Everybody's talking to one another about, hey, this Ninja Turtles game. And even like social media was just a buzz yesterday about Shredder's Revenge in a way that I haven't seen it, like the excitement for like a lot of games. And it was really great to see that everyone was super hyped. And the crazy thing is, this is like, it's not even a heavy game on your computer or on your PlayStation,
No,
whatever. I mean, it was like
not at
700
all.
megabytes or something stupid.
Yeah.
And like I downloaded it. And everyone is like saying game of the year. Game of
Yeah,
the year, like
8-bit.
everyone said.
It's 8-bit, and there's not even sound with the titles. You kind of have to read at the bottom what's happening to the
Yeah,
characters. Like, yeah,
but
it's very 80s.
it is. But the thing is, everyone is saying game of the year, and I must be honest with you. I kind of agree. Yes, okay, maybe I am caught up a little bit in the hype right now of the Ninja Turtles, and I'm caught up in the hype of a brand new game and really enjoying it. But I haven't had this feeling playing a game for a very long time where it's just so enjoyable. The whole entire experience is enjoyable. It's not just oh, this is just the Turtles and you're blinded by it or whatever. It just, everything is so enjoyable about it. It's fun. It's simple. You know what you need to do, and I think it captures the magic of gaming from the 80s, especially where things were simple. It wasn't a case of like that we got to learn, a whole bunch of button combinations like we had to in the 90s, for a lot of games that perform
Yeah,
fatalities and all that. It doesn't have one of those like in-depth sort of story modes that you can open world where you roam around for hours. It's simple. It's basic. It tells you what you need to do. But the great thing is it's got replayability value in the sense that it's got a whole bunch of different characters. So, I
yeah,
mean, I'm playing as Raphael, but then if you play as another character that they've got a specific moveset, then, you can
yeah,
unlock the likes of Casey Jones. And I'm curious if they're going to be releasing other characters because, I mean, I'm sure you notice in the game as well, every time you appear like the Punk Frogs, they appear some here and there. And I know the Punk Frogs are quite popular amongst like the TMNT fans. I'm wondering, will there maybe be like additional characters,
yeah. That's an interesting one. And
or, or, or even
or even,
Usagi Yojimbo, like the Samurai Rabbit. He's also like a character that appeared in the Ninja Turtles cartoons, and obviously the animated series is on Netflix at the moment, but based on the Samurai Rabbit Chronicles. Perhaps it could be. I mean, what other characters are going to introduce?
Batman.
No, just no. Like Batman beating up foot soldiers. Yeah, I can see that.
Batman shows up everywhere, So
yeah, I mean, Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, like Batman appears. We're like, wait, what? Like, and I remember I kept thinking you were trolling me. I'm like, no, you're lying to me. You're trying to get me. Like everyone doesn't know. When Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers came out, there was like a small little Batman cameo, like Ben Affleck's Batman cameo. And I had watched the movie, but I was kind of like busy still like finishing up some work as I was watching it in the background. And Jared, like, he's like telling me, did you see Batman? And I'm like, no, this guy's like lying to me now. Because we do this to each other all the time. We like try to trick each other, like, oh, did you see this? Or did you see this? So you always like suspect, like that. You always like suspicious of like of the other guy's message, like, no, wait, hang on. Is he like trying to get me or whatever? And then eventually he wasn't lying to me, and I was like, oh, I had to like eat some humble pie and admit that he was right.
Yeah.
So yeah, like now you say Batman in the TMNT. Well, look, don't get me wrong. I think somebody's going to mod it. Somebody's going to mod it.
Yeah, it's one of those. Yeah, it can be easily be modded to like add more 8-bit characters.
But again, I need to ask this question, and it is something which I think a lot of gamers have asked in the past, and it's a debate that it goes on to today. Have games become too complicated? Are we missing some of the magic and the simplicity of why games are so magical in the first place? Like, you look at this game, Shredder's Revenge, and it's just a reminder of everything that we loved, and everybody seems to be enjoying it, both young and old.
Yeah. Look,
So, do
yeah.
you think that it's like gaming has just become a little bit too complicated?
I think it's that's a tough one because on the one hand, I like like the fact that they're doing such amazing stuff with games now. Like, I mean, the graphics, and I mean, I played a game last week, 2 weeks ago, or The Quarry, and the graphics of it is so incredible. It looks lifelike. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I love that aspect of it. The fact that games look so real now. But then there is something to playing these old, really simple games. That they almost like hook you for hours on end, where you don't know how much time has gone by. Like yesterday, I was
Yeah.
playing this, and I was like, "Oh crap! I have to go sleep now. I can't be playing Ninja Turtles all night." And
Yeah.
and I mean, I let my son play Pac-Man for the first time yesterday, and he was so interested in Pac-Man. Like, and he usually plays these, like Forza or these fairly modern games. And
Yeah.
yesterday he played Pac-Man for the first time, and he was like, "What is this?" Like, and he found it funny. He thought it was funny that these, little ghosts chase this character, and he has to go and eat all this little candy
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe there's a good balance in creating games like this and doing the more modern stuff. Maybe maybe this is the beginning of something interesting that's going to happen in gaming, where we have the more advanced new stuff, and you have the GTA's and stuff, and then you have these retro games that are coming back into style.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think of, for example, like again TMNT, and we're looking at it throughout the history of the games that have been released, and all the most popular games have all been like the derivatives of the original arcade game. So we're talking about what was the one, Turtles in Time. There was one that was quite popular, and obviously
Mm-hmm.
the arcade game across the different ports. And those were the ones that everybody was like super into, and everybody like, these are the best TMNT games. And I know that they
Mm-hmm.
try to do different things. Like when the 2003 animated series came out, they also had a game that was based on that. And I remember playing that game actually on computer, and it was pretty decent, but it didn't have the same sort of hype or love. And now you look at more recently, it was Mutants in Manhattan, which I think was 2016. And one of the complaints about that game was that it was too repetitive. It didn't feel like you're doing something new. And at the same time, you kind of think to yourself, well, this new game, Shredder's Revenge, it is kind of repetitive in a way.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
not like, you're not kind of like doing different things on different levels. You're beating the crap out of foot soldiers and,
yeah,
the Mousers, and obviously the different villains at the end, or the bosses at the end, like, Bebop and Rocksteady or Tempesta or whatever. You're doing all those sort of things. And it is kind of repetitive. So it's the same you could kind of address the same complaint, but the difference is it feels a lot more fun. While the other one,
yeah,
probably everyone expected a little bit more because it was at that stage a new generation game, and this one is just like, it's a retro sort of game. But that's what I'm saying. Like, maybe we have become a little bit too. We expect a little bit too much of games, in the sense of like, it needs to be like this revolutionary experience every time. And I think it gets a little bit difficult to deliver that. It's probably one of the same reasons why people play FIFA every single year. And I mean, we've
yeah,
discussed this before. Is essentially the same game, which is the new cover every year, and it really is. I mean,
yeah,
sometimes there might be very different things in the graphics and certain little tweaks. But essentially, if you pick up FIFA from 4 years ago and you pick up FIFA now, they are very similar. There might just be certain little, mechanical things that are changed in the game, or
yeah,
they're it's the same game essentially. And
yeah,
there's something about that. I think it's like, scientific thing, like maybe even a psychological thing, that like why we are attracted to these games a lot more.
yeah. I also think that some games work better in this format versus others. Like, we couldn't have a modern 3D looking Pac-Man, for example. That would never
Yeah,
work.
yeah,
What does that even look like? I think the same sort of issue is happening with Sonic the Hedgehog. Like, you see these, they keep trying to recreate the first game, or capture the magic of the first game, but it never works. I even saw they're releasing the first few games again now, and I'm like, really?
Oh yeah,
like,
Retromania. Yeah, but that was
what?
actually quite fun because they
But
just like
again, it's like
upgraded
the
it a little
same
bit. Yeah,
game. Yeah, exactly. It's the
yeah.
same thing again and again and again. Because when they changed it up and made these 3D Sonic the Hedgehog stuff, none of the newer games actually work. The retro ones are what was selling and doing well.
I think that's an interesting like argument about that because obviously the first Sonic game it was about going as fast as humanly possible, collecting rings, and that was basically the point of it. There wasn't a sort
Yeah,
of in-depth storyline. I mean, the game didn't try to like fill in so many gaps and have cutscenes. It didn't have any of that. You just meet like a
yeah, yeah,
a
yeah.
boss battle at the end or at the end of every like I think it was every third act if I'm not mistaken, and
Yep.
then you'd obviously go on to the next your next batches of levels, the next act, whatever, or stage one or whatever. I can't remember exactly with Sonic what it was, but the point is that you knew what you had to do. The storyline was very simple to follow, and that was but it was about the gameplay. At the end of the day, the gameplay is what kept you like involved
Yeah,
and riveted in it. And I think the difference is nowadays sometimes like we invest so much time into graphics and storylines, and I mean the games look incredible. You cannot compare like
yeah,
gaming of yesteryear to today. It's like it's unfair. But
yeah,
we invest so much money into that we kind of forgotten the essence of gaming at the end is to have a good time, is to have,
yeah,
sort of escape, and enjoy the gameplay and do that. And I think sometimes the gameplay is what is lacking because there's some games, and I've had it, recently as well. I've been playing a couple games and you'll be walking around and you'll be walking around like, oh, this is great, but the game is so boring. There's nothing happening. I mean, it was that the recent one that we discussed, Vampire the Masquerade, the one that I
yeah.
had.
I
I
knew
was
you
just
were
like,
gonna mention that.
I was just like, the game, it's got a great storyline. Don't get me wrong, the storyline's great. The graphics aren't too bad either. It's like, it's a different sort of game, like walking around, but it just felt like they invested so much time into all the other elements, they forgot what the essence of why I want to be there is. It's like,
Yeah,
I want to play a game. I want to play a game, and like
yeah,
you're just walking around, you're like, okay, I'm exploring this world, great, but I think sometimes it helps to actually have boundaries in these walls. I don't know, like I think this open world sort of thing, it's almost like you go off on a side quest that you don't know what the side quest is. You get sidetracked. It's like the Witcher's games, for
yeah, yeah,
example. You
yeah.
think about the Witcher, it's like you can walk around aimlessly. That's why like people take like 25 years to finish Witcher because you can get lost in that game. You can get
Yeah,
lost in that game, and you just go on these side quests and you talk to these villagers and stuff. And at some point, you're like, okay, I'd like to actually get somewhere, progress in this game. Like I think some people enjoy the experience, like World of Warcraft, where they can be lost in this world entirely. But you do need some elements. Sometimes I do need to contain it a little bit and say, well, okay, the boundary walls are here, so don't drift off any further. Like now you can
yeah,
stick to a mission and do it. And I think maybe this is why a lot of these games are like, like Turtles and stuff is popular is because you know what you need to do. You're like, okay, there's an end point in sight. I know what I need to do. I need to go from point A to point B. This is what I need to do to get there versus a case like, well, you can go anywhere you want, but we're not sure, like, but if you get to point B, it's up to you sort of thing. And I think maybe
yeah,
that's the thing. Like these games actually give you an objective at the end that you need to. It's a clear objective versus a case like here's an objective and here's a million other side objectives for you to do, and you get lost in all the side
yeah,
objectives. You're like, okay, what am I doing in this game anyway? It's like I forgot what I'm doing
yeah.
here.
And I
But
think
yeah, I mean that's
sometimes you kind of just want to play something and you don't want to think. You don't want to think about anything. You just want to mash some buttons, and kick some ass, and you don't really want to think about anything, especially after a long day. That's how I feel about this game, anyway.
yeah, and I mean the thing is, look, I think the Turtles, like right now, the best thing that's happening with that franchise is in the comic books at the moment. The IDW series is incredible. I've been like raving about it. I mean, over 100 issues in, and it's still going strong. It's one of the best comic book runs I've ever read in my life. And I
Yeah,
strongly believe it's one of the most underrated like runs of all time. So there's some fantastic stuff happening there. They also had the Last Ronin as well, the comic book series where
yeah,
there was the final turtle that was around, and it was fantastic as well. So all the best stuff for the Turtles is happening there in like the comic books, and those have got like the best storylines. I think like the animated series, The Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, it's very different. I think it's aimed at a different audience. And I mean, I think, like a lot of people are enjoying it, and they've been trying different things. There's apparently a couple movies coming out, like some animated movies as well. And we'll see how it goes. But I think the reason why this game is so successful is because it just captures like what the purpose of the Turtles was in the 1987 animated series, which was like, okay, they got to defeat the Shredder and Krang before they have, they achieve the dastardly goal of taking over Earth. That's basically what it's about. That summarizes the whole Ninja Turtle series. And at the same time, they'll have these little devious plans of Bebop and Rocksteady, and the Turtles need to stop them. And the characters are what shine. It's not really an in-depth storyline. And I mean, even in this game, they're trying to rebuild Krang's body. That's the whole purpose of it. And it's like every little stage, you're getting closer to it. And obviously, we all know the end goal is going to face Krang. It's very clear, but it's still fun. It's just like what this is about. The storyline is super clear. You're just having a good time along the way, and like you say, you don't necessarily need to sit there waiting for the 15-minute cutscene to end. And you're like watching this, and it's like, okay, great, but I didn't want to watch a movie tonight. I actually wanted to play a game. That's kind of how I feel sometimes.
Okay, cool. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Since they remade this Turtles game, right? What other franchise do you think would work really well? Like for me, I would say Double Dragon would work really well now. Like that's something I would still play today.
They tried a Double Dragon game. I think it was Double Dragon 4, like a while back. I remember that. I mean, I think I even reviewed that for Fortress, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that great, but it would be nice to see them kind of modernize it just a little bit more. Because like Streets of Rage, for example, looked a little bit more modern, and it was great. Yeah. I'd love to see them try Double Dragon again. The other one I would say that could use it is like something like Golden Axe would be pretty fun as well.
Yeah,
I think Golden Axe could be pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But you can see I think Golden Axe they definitely do a modern thing though. I don't know if they would still be doing it like the way they did it in the 80s, like with that kicking the what did you have to kick around in Golden Axe?
Oh well, it was like trolls and stuff, and it was like monsters, and it was you had all the different. You were like there were like the different classes of like characters that you use. So yeah, but that I think would work quite well. I think something you'd have to look at other stuff like like Islander and what else was there like in those days? The Simpsons, like the Simpsons games as well, quite fun.
The Simpsons will do well now as well, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff like there from the 8-bit era that could actually be translated into like now. I think it would work quite well. I mean, remember Rocket Knight as well? There was like the Sega game Rocket Knight that was quite fun, and it also had like it was also like a platformer, a little bit like Sonic in a sense. There's one like Rocket Knight that was quite cool. That could also work. Even something like Shinobi. Or even Ninja Gaiden, that would also be a good one, I think, to do. Because Ninja Gaiden, I mean, they've tried to do some stuff in like obviously like 3D, and I still think Ninja Gaiden could be really cool in this sort of format. I actually hope they do that. Ninja Gaiden, okay, I'm gonna go Ninja Gaiden. I'm listing too many options.
80s was a big time for you, clearly, for gaming.
Well, the funny thing is, I only got like my console, like my first ever console, like was like early 90s. So
really,
I still remember it. I was actually,
What were you playing on before that?
Nothing. Like my parents just like didn't like. Well, actually, my parents bought it. They had like an Atari or something. Like it was like a knockoff of an Atari, but it wasn't an Atari. But I just remember like it had like the tennis and all that stuff. We had that, and then my parents like surprised me with like this family entertainment system. And then the first game I ever got, funny enough, was the Ninja Turtles. So it was an arcade game, and I was hooked. I remember the first day, like it was like a Friday or something, my parents brought it home and they're like, oh, look what we got you. And I was playing and playing and playing. And eventually my parents were like, no, we want to watch a movie. Like, go to bed. so then I got chased to bed, and the whole night I did not sleep because I was like thinking about this game. And like literally the next morning, I kept like waking up early, like, from 5 o'clock, like trying to tell my parents, can I play now? Can I play now? Can I play now? That was because I was obsessed with it.
Do you remember how the AC adapter, the power would like, it would get hot if you played too much and you'd have to plug it out? I'm assuming that didn't happen to you, or did it?
It did. Like, but the thing is, like, I'd play for like stretches of like 6 hours, and like my parents were like, "No, come, you need to like eat or something. You need to go outside, touch the grass."
I swear, parents put something in that thing to make it overheat every time, just so that kids don't hog the TV for too long.
No, but it was like it was great times, like to play with that. Like, and I think now it's so cool. Like, the fact that yesterday I was playing this game on Steam, and I was being able to like cast it via Steam, a link to my big screen TV, and playing it there with my PlayStation 4 controller. It's like it's just another experience, that's the thing. And I think that's what's great. It's like, the cross-player functionality. I mean, I know that if you've got it on Xbox and somebody else got it on PC, you can like play it together. I think PS4 at the moment, I don't think there's cross-player like functionality there yet, but it's coming from what I heard. So it's great. The fact that, obviously you can do your couch co-op with your friends, that's the main thing, but you can also like you said, like, with you and your brother, you can sit there, you in Cape Town, him in Johannesburg, and you guys can be playing the same game. It's fun. It's awesome. So
yeah.
yeah.
It would be nice to see them release this as a actual arcade game, or even sell them in stores that way, like like where you could buy the whole cabinet and take it home. But
Well, I mean, they released
I know they are very expensive, but it would be nice.
Yeah, they've got the cabinets obviously for the classic arcade game. I know in the US, like Target, I think sells all the stuff, or like it's one of the places that sell like all the cabinets, and they are quite expensive, they're quite pricey, but they are apparently really, really good. And it would be great. And I mean, I think, look, they've released some cool retro stuff with this. Like if you looked at some of the special edition packaging, some of them come in like a VHS like box, like the old boxes for VHS tapes. It comes in that shape. Then you can also get like, obviously in the US, you can get like a Pizza Hut voucher. So you can get like your pizza, which is like the ultimate Turtles thing. So they've got some really cool stuff, collectibles. So I think depending on how the game does, but from what I've seen, it's been doing really, really well. It's like #1 game in like so many different stores. I think there's a good chance that more cool stuff will happen. So we'll see.
Yeah, that sounds.
But
good.
yeah, it's been fun again, Jared. And I know you want to go run back quickly to Shredder's Revenge, and I probably will be doing the same. And to everyone else out there listening, have you played the game? If not, why not? And if you have played it, what did you think of it? Is it everything that you expected it to be, or did it disappoint you? It's up to you to let us know what you think about the game. And whilst you're at, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And we'll be catching up with you on the flip side after we play some Shredder's Revenge. Until then, take care.